The shuttle's engines hummed to silence as Dex Morrow pressed his palm against the cool viewport, watching the massive Veilthrin orbital station rotate slowly against the starfield. The celestial nexus was unlike anything in human space. Organic, curves flowing seamlessly into crystalline spires, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to breathe with life itself. His heart hammered against his ribs as the docking clamps engaged with a resonant chime. "Remember Ambassador Morrow?" his AI assistant whispered through his earpiece. "The Veilthrins value ceremonial precision above all else. Follow their lead. Speak only when addressed, and I know the protocols," Arya Dex muttered, adjusting his formal, diplomatic uniform for the 100th time during the journey. The midnight blue fabric felt stiff against his skin, every thread woven with Earth's hopes for this peace accord. At 28, he was the youngest ambassador ever sent to negotiate with an alien species, chosen more for his linguistic abilities and cultural adaptability than political experience. The airlock cycled with a soft sigh, and Dex stepped into a corridor that defied physics. The walls seemed to flow upward into impossible geometries, lit by veins of soft amber light that pulsed, in rhythm with something he couldn't identify. The air tasted of ozone, and something floral sweet but alien, making his sinuses tingle. "Ambassador Moreau of Earth," a melodious voice called from ahead. "We welcome you to the Celestial Nexus." Dex's breath caught in his throat. The delegation, approaching him, moved with liquid grace, their skin a luminescent blue that shifted between sapphire and azure depending on the angle of light. Intricate silver markings traced delicate patterns across their exposed arms and faces, not tattoos, but something that seemed to flow beneath their skin like living metal. At the delegation's head walked a woman who made Dex's carefully prepared diplomatic composure crumble. She was tall and elegant, her silver hair flowing like liquid starlight past her shoulders. Her ceremonial robes seemed woven from captured moonbeams, shifting and shimmering with each step. But it was her eyes that struck him motionless deep, violet that seemed to hold entire galaxies within their depths. "I am Princess Zephyra Nix," she said, her voice carrying musical undertones that resonated in Dex's chest. "First daughter of the Veilthrin Empire, guardian of the Stellar Accords." Dex bowed exactly 30 degrees as his briefings had instructed. "Your Highness, I am deeply honored too." His words died as Zephyra stepped forward, closing the distance. Between them, in one fluid motion, before he could react, her hands cupped his face with surprising warmth, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw with gentle precision.
Ow.
Her touch sent electricity racing along his nerves, but nothing prepared him for what came next. She kissed him. Not a formal greeting, not a brief touch of lips, a deep, soul-searing kiss that made his world tilt on its axis. Her lips were soft and warm, tasting of something like honey and starlight. When her tongue gently touched his, Dex felt a strange, tingling sensation spread through his mind as if she were somehow reaching into his thoughts. The kiss lasted only moments, but time seemed suspended, the universe narrowing to the point where their lips met. When she finally pulled away, Dex staggered backward, his face burning with embarrassment and confusion. The entire Veilthrin delegation had dropped to one knee, their heads bowed in what looked like reverence. Even the guards had crossed their arms over their chests in some form of salute. "What? ... What just happened?" Dex gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. Zephyra tilted her head, studying him with those mesmerizing violet eyes. "The soul kiss of greeting, Ambassador. It is how we welcome those worthy of our deepest trust." Her expression shifted slightly, concern flickering across her perfect features. "Did I offend you? Your people's customs? No, it's just ... Dex ran a trembling hand through his dark hair, trying to process what had just occurred. "We don't. Humans don't greet like that. Ever." A tall Veilthrin male in elaborate golden robes stepped forward, his silver markings more intricate than the others. "Ambassador Morrow, I am Elder Corvain, keeper of sacred traditions. You have just received the soul kiss from our first daughter, an honor reserved for the most esteemed guests." Dex nodded, still feeling the tingling aftereffects of Zephyra's touch in his mind. "I'm grateful for the honor, truly, But I should explain that human diplomatic protocol. Did you reject the kiss? Elder Corvain interrupted, his voice carrying a weight that made the air itself seem heavier. No, but then you have accepted it, Corvain said solemnly. In the presence of the court, witnessed by the stars themselves, a chill ran down Dex's spine at the elder's tone. Accepted what, exactly? Zafira stepped closer again, and Dex caught her sense something like night-blooming jasmine mixed with ozone. The soul kiss is not merely a greeting, Ambassador. It is an offering of connection, a glimpse into the depths of one's spirit. Her voice dropped too barely above, a whisper. Among my people, to give and receive the soul kiss is to acknowledge the possibility of deeper bonds. Deeper bonds? Dex's voice cracked slightly. Elder Corvain's expression grew grave. You have unknowingly entered the ritual of hearts. Ambassador Moro, Princess Zafira has offered herself as your guide and companion for the duration of your stay. By accepting her soul kiss without rejection, you have agreed to explore the depths of connection between your souls. The diplomatic training that had carried Dex through years of interplanetary negotiations suddenly felt inadequate. I need to contact my superiors immediately. That would be unwise, Corvain said carefully. The ritual of hearts, once begun, must be completed or formally dissolved. To simply leave would be considered a grave insult to the princess and the empire itself. Dex looked at Zafira, searching those violet eyes for some sign of what he should do. She watched him with an expression he couldn't read, part hope, part challenge, and something else that made his pulse quicken. What does completion of this ritual involve? He asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Zafira's lips curved in a smile that was both mysterious and strangely reassuring. 3 trials, Ambassador. 3 chances to truly know each other's hearts. She paused, her gaze never leaving his. 3 opportunities to discover whether the connection sparked by a single kiss might ignite into something that could bridge the space between worlds. As the implications of his situation settled over him like a weight, Dex realized that his mission had just become far more complicated and potentially far more dangerous than anyone on Earth could have imagined. The guest quarters assigned to Dex were a marvel of veil-through architecture walls that seemed to breathe with soft bioluminescence, furniture that adjusted to his body temperature, and a viewport that offered a stunning view of the nebula beyond. But despite the alien luxury, he paced like a caged animal, his mind racing with the implications of his situation. A soft chime announced a visitor. Ambassador Reeves materialized as a hologram, his weathered face creased with concern. Morrow, what the hell happened down there? Our monitors detected some kind of energy surge during the greeting ceremony. Dex ran his hands through his hair, still feeling the phantom sensation of Zafira's touch. Sarah, I may have accidentally gotten engaged to an alien princess? You what? Reeves' voice crackled through the static. It's not possible. We studied their greeting customs for months, apparently not thoroughly enough, Dex interrupted. The soul kiss isn't just ceremonial, it's ... binding. I'm trapped in something called the ritual of hearts. Before Reeves could respond, the chamber door dissolved into sparkling motes of light. Elder Corvain entered, his golden robes rustling with each measured step. Behind him walked Princess Zafira, now wearing a simpler gown that somehow made her even more breathtaking. The fabric clung to her curves like liquid silk, and her silver markings seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. Ambassador Reeves, Corvain nodded to the hologram. We must speak of the situation your envoy has created. Created, Reeves sputtered. He was following standard diplomatic protocol. Peace, Zafira interjected, her voice carrying an authority that made both men fall silent. What is done is done. The question now is whether Ambassador Moro will honor the bond or seek dissolution. Dex found himself studying her face, noting the way starlight from the viewport played across her luminescent skin. What would dissolution mean for Earth's peace negotiations? Corvain's expression grew grave. The Veilthrin Empire would consider it a rejection of our most sacred customs. Trade agreements, territorial accords, even basic diplomatic relations would become ... difficult. You're holding our entire civilization hostage over a misunderstood kiss? Reeves demanded. No, Zafira said softly, her violet eyes fixed on Dex. I am offering your ambassador a chance to truly understand my people. The Ritual of Hearts was designed to forge bonds between different worlds, different species. Has prevented more wars than any treaty. Dex felt drawn to her voice like a moth to flame. And if I agree to the ritual? 3 trials, Corvain explained. The first is the sharing of Sol's a mind meld that will allow you to experience each other's memories, emotions, and deepest truths. The second is the trial of trust, where you must demonstrate your commitment to understanding rather than conquering. The third, he paused, glancing at Zafira, ... is the choice of hearts, where you both must decide whether the connection forged is worth the sacrifices required, and if we fail any of these trials, then the bond dissolves. Naturally, with honor intact for both parties, Zafira said. But Dex, the use of his first name sent a shiver through him. I chose you specifically. I have studied your diplomatic records, your approach to conflict resolution. You seek understanding where others demand submission. Reeves leaned forward in his holographic form. Morrow, you can't seriously be considering I am, Dex said quietly, surprising himself. He looked at Zafira, seeing something vulnerable beneath her regal composure. When would we begin? Now, she said, stepping closer. The first trial requires complete trust. We must lower all mental barriers and allow our consciousness to merge temporarily. Elder Corvain produced a crystalline device from his robe's sphere that pulsed with the same rhythm as Zafira's markings. The mind bridge will facilitate the connection. Place your hands upon it together. Dex hesitated, aware that Reeves was gesturing frantically from the hologram. Will it hurt? Zafira said, her voice soft as starlight. But you will see things about me that I have never shared with anyone, and I will see the same from you. Their hands met on the crystal surface, and immediately Dex felt a tingling sensation race up his arms. The chamber around them began to fade, replaced by swirling colors and half-formed images. Then suddenly, he was somewhere else entirely, stood in a vast garden beneath twin moons, watching a young Veilthrin girl practice combat forms alone. Her movements were perfect, precise, but her violet eyes held a profound sadness. Through the connection, he felt her emotions, the crushing weight of expectations, the loneliness of being born to rule, the desperate desire to be seen as more than just a political symbol. The scene shifted, and now he experienced her watching. Diplomatic feeds from Earth, studying human negotiation techniques with fascination. She had spent years learning about his species, not from duty, but from genuine curiosity about beings who chose cooperation over conquest. Then the perspective flipped, and Zafira experienced his memories. She felt his childhood in the orbital colonies, the weight of being different, brilliant but awkward. She experienced his dedication to diplomacy, not as career ambition, but as a genuine belief that understanding could bridge any gap. She felt his loneliness, too, the isolation of being the person others turned to for answers, but never for companionship. When the connection faded, they were both breathing heavily, still touching the crystal, but seeing each other with new eyes. You carry such sadness, Zafira whispered, tears glistening on her luminescent cheeks. So do you, Dex replied, his voice rough with emotion. You chose me because you saw something familiar, didn't you? Someone else who understands what it means to be alone, even when surrounded by others. She nodded, unable to speak. Cleared his throat gently. The first trial is complete. The sharing of souls has revealed compatibility of spirit. He paused, studying them both. But the path ahead grows more challenging. Are you prepared to continue? Dex looked at Zafira, seeing not just an alien princess, but a kindred spirit who had reached across the void between worlds to find connection. Yes, he said firmly. We continue. Reeves' hologram flickered with static as he shook his head. Morrow, I hope you know what you're doing. As the elder and the ambassador's image departed, leaving them alone, Zafira stepped closer. The mind meld changes things, she said softly. What we shared, ... it was real. I know, Dex replied, his heart racing as she reached up to touch his face again. I felt it too. This time, when she kissed him, It wasn't ritual or ceremony, it was choice. The combat arena was nothing like Dex had expected. Instead of a brutal pit, he found himself in a vast, crystalline chamber that seemed to extend infinitely upward, its walls reflecting and refracting light into mesmerizing patterns. The floor beneath his feet was smooth obsidian that rippled like water with each step. The second trial begins. Elder Corvain's voice echoed from hidden speakers. You will face Nexus, our biomechanical guardian. Victory comes not through destruction, but through understanding. Across the arena, a section of the wall dissolved, revealing a creature that defied easy description. Nexus stood nearly 3 meters tall, its form a seamless blend of organic curves and mechanical precision. Bioluminescent circuits traced patterns across its metallic hide, pulsing in rhythm with what might have been a heartbeat. Its head was elongated, almost draconic, with multifaceted eyes that glowed with inner fire. In the observation deck above, Princess Zephyra watched with barely concealed tension. Beside her, Talon Vosa, rivaled noble with ambitious eyes and jealousy written across his angular features, sneered at the human below.
Ow.
This proves nothing, Talon muttered, his silver markings flickering with agitation. Any fool can face death. It does not make him worthy of our princess. The trial is not about death, Zephyra replied coldly, never taking her eyes off Dex. It is about the ability to see beyond surface appearances. Below, Nexus had begun to circle Dex with predatory grace. The creature's movements were hypnotic, fluid yet mechanical, like a deadly dance choreographed by some alien intelligence. Dex stood perfectly still, his diplomatic training warring with every instinct that screamed at him to run. Hello, he said quietly, his voice carrying across the silent arena. Nexus paused, its multifaceted eyes focusing on him with new intensity. A low harmonic sound emerged from its throat, part growl, part song.
I know.
You can understand me, Dex continued, taking a cautious step forward. The circuits in your body, the way your eyes track movement, you're not just a mindless guardian, are you? You're alive. The creature's head tilted, and the bioluminescent patterns across its hide shifted to a deeper blue. In the observation deck, Corvain leaned forward with interest. Impossible! Tolan scoffed. Nexus is a tool, nothing more. We'll tear him apart within moments. But Zephyra's eyes were bright with hope. Watch, she whispered. Dex had moved closer, now within striking distance of the massive creature. I know what it's like to be seen as something you're not, he said softly. They created you to be a weapon, didn't they? That you're so much more than that. Nexus made that harmonic sound again, longer this time, almost mournful. Its massive head lowered until it was level with Dex's face, and for a moment that felt like eternity. Man and machine regarded each other in perfect silence. Then slowly, Nexus extended one clawed appendage and gently touched Dex's chest, directly over his heart.
Ow.
The contact sent a jolt of electricity through both of them, not painful, but connecting, communicating in a language older than words. Through that touch, Dex felt Nexus's loneliness, its confusion at being feared rather than understood, its desire for purpose beyond violence. And Nexus felt Dex's empathy, his genuine desire to understand rather than conquer. Trial completed, Corvain announced, his voice filled with amazement. In 3 centuries, no challenger has ever achieved communion with Nexus. In the observation deck, Talon's composure finally cracked. This is madness, he snarled, rounding on Zephyra. You cannot seriously consider binding yourself to this primitive creature. Careful, Tolan, Zephyra's voice carried a dangerous edge. Your prejudice is showing prejudice. I speak of genetic compatibility, of political necessity. The humans are a young species, violent and unpredictable. They will corrupt our bloodlines, weaken our empire. The same things they said about the Cathara before we formed the stellar alliance with them, Zephyra countered. And the Mordani, before they became our greatest trading partners. Those were different circumstances. No. Zephyra cut him off, her violet eyes blazing. They were the same fear, the same small-minded thinking that has held our people back for millennia. Talon's silver markings flared with anger. You speak of holding back? Look at him. He gestured toward Dex, who was now sitting beside Nexus, apparently engaged in some form of communication with the biomechanical guardian. He shows no strength, no dominance. How can such weakness lead? Strength. Zafira laughed, but there was no humor in it. He just accomplished something our greatest warriors could not. He saw a thinking being where others saw only a tool. He chose understanding over violence, connection over conquest. She stepped closer to Talon, her presence suddenly intimidating despite her smaller stature. "Tell me, cousin, when did you last choose empathy over ego?" Before Talon could respond, she had swept from the observation deck, leaving him sputtering in indignation. Minutes later, Zafira entered the arena where Dex was still sitting with Nexus. The massive creature looked up at her approach, its circuits pulsing in what she recognized as contentment. "It says thank you," Dex said without looking up. "For the first time in its existence, someone saw it as more than a weapon." "How can you understand it?" Zafira asked, settling gracefully beside them on the obsidian floor. "I'm not sure," Dex admitted. "When we touched, I felt everything it was feeling. The loneliness, the confusion. It's been trying to communicate for years, but everyone expected it to be a mindless guardian." Zafira reached out tentatively, and Nexus extended its other appendage to her. The moment they connected, her eyes widened in wonder. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Its thoughts are like music made of mathematics." "Your people created something incredible," Dex said, finally meeting her gaze. "Psst." But they were so focused on what they wanted it to be that they never discovered what it actually was. "The same mistake we nearly made with your species," Zafira said softly. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both still connected to Nexus, forming an unlikely triangle of communion. Then Zafira spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Tolan thinks you're weak because you chose understanding over aggression. And what do you think?" She turned to face him fully, her luminescent skin glowing brighter in the arena's crystalline light. "I think you're the strongest person I've ever met, and I think—" She hesitated, vulnerability flickering across her perfect features. "I think I'm falling in love with you." The admission hung in the air between them like starlight, fragile and precious. Dex felt his heart stop, then restart with painful intensity. "Zafira," he breathed, and then he was kissing her, pouring all his confusion and desire and desperate hope into the contact. Her lips were warm and soft, and when she responded, deepening the kiss, he felt like he was drowning in sensation. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Nexus made a sound that could only be described as approving. 2 trials completed, Zafira whispered against his lips. "One more to go, and then we discover if love can truly bridge the space between worlds." The throne room of the Celestial Nexus was a study in understated power. Empress Variana sat upon a chair carved from a single massive crystal, her presence commanding despite her deceptively small stature. Her silver markings were more intricate than any Dex had seen, forming complex patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living circuitry across her luminescent skin. "So," the Empress said, her voice carrying the weight of stellar authority, "you are the human who has captured my daughter's heart." Dex stood at attention, every diplomatic instinct screaming warnings. Beside him, Zafira maintained perfect royal composure, but he could sense her tension through the bond they had been developing. "Your Majesty, I am honored by your daughter's regard, but I want to assure you that my intentions, your intentions, are irrelevant." Viriana interrupted with casual brutality. "What matters is your ability to make the choice that will define both our species' futures." A holographic display materialized between them, showing a tactical overview of space near Earth. Red indicators marked Veil-Thrown fleet positions. Far more ships than any peace mission would require. "Mother, what is this?" Zafira stepped forward, her voice tight with controlled alarm. "What?" "Insurance," the Empress replied coolly. "The Veil-Thrown Empire has learned that humans possess rare mineral resources essential to our technology. Resources that are being depleted in our own systems." Dex felt ice form in his stomach. "You're planning to invade Earth?" "We are planning to ensure our species' survival," Viriana corrected. "The question is whether we do so through conquest or cooperation." That decision now rests with you, Ambassador Moro. I don't understand. Empress rose from her throne, her presence suddenly overwhelming. The final trial of the Ritual of Hearts requires you to choose between your species and your heart. Expose our fleet positions to your people, and Earth will be prepared for conflict, but my daughter will be branded a traitor for allowing you to discover our plans. Remain silent, and Earth remains vulnerable, but Zephyra's honor stays intact. Mother, you can't, Zephyra began, but Viriana silenced her with a gesture. This is the way of leadership, daughter. Every choice carries a price. Let us see what price your human is willing to pay for love. The throne room fell silent, except for the subtle hum of the station's life support systems. Dex felt the weight of two worlds pressing down on him, billions of human lives on one side, the woman he was falling in love with on the other. There has to be another way, he said finally. There always is, a new voice said from the shadows. Minister Selim stepped forward, his simple robes a stark contrast to the royal finery around him. If one is brave enough to find it, Selim, the Empress warned, you overstep, do I? The minister's calm demeanor never wavered. Or do I? Serve the Empire's true interests. Ambassador Moreau, you have impressed our people with your ability to see beyond surface appearances. What do you see when you look at this situation? Dex's mind raced, diplomatic training taking over. I see desperation masquerading as strength. If the Veilthran Empire truly needed Earth's resources, they would have opened with trade negotiations, not secret fleet positions. Viriana's eyes narrowed dangerously. Careful, human. No, Dex continued, feeling certainty crystallize in his mind. This isn't about resources. This is about testing me. Testing whether I'll choose the easy path or find a solution that serves. Everyone, Zephyra's eyes widened with understanding. The mineral deposits are available on 17 uninhabited worlds within Veilthran space, Selim confirmed. Ow! Our surveys have known this for decades. The Empress has been using resource scarcity as a political tool to maintain military support. Viriana hissed, but there was something almost proud in her expression. Dex turned to face the Empress directly. Your Majesty, I propose a third option. A joint expedition to survey and develop these uninhabited worlds, with Earth providing technical expertise and the Veilthran Empire providing transportation and protection. Both species benefit. No one is conquered or betrayed. The silence stretched taut as a wire. Then, unexpectedly, Empress Viriana began to laugh, a sound like silver bells in a windstorm. Clever, she admitted. Very clever. You have passed the final trial, Ambassador Moro. Not by choosing between love and duty, but by refusing to accept that such a choice was necessary. The holographic fleet display flickered and changed, revealing the true nature of the exercise. Most of the invasion fleet were actually scientific survey vessels, already positioned to begin the joint expedition Dex had just proposed. You planned this, Zephyra breathed, staring at her mother in amazement. I planned to test whether your human could think beyond the limitations others would impose, Viriana replied. The Ritual of Hearts is not just about personal compatibility. It is about the ability to forge bonds that strengthen both parties, rather than diminishing them. That evening, in the privacy of Zephyra's chambers, the weight of the day's revelations settled over them like a comfortable blanket. The room was softly lit by bioluminescent panels that responded to their occupants' moods, currently pulsing with warm golden hues. I can't believe my mother orchestrated all of that, Zephyra said, curled against Dex's side on the flowing couch. The fleet, the impossible choice, even Selim's intervention. She's protecting her daughter and her empire, Dex replied, running his fingers through her silver hair. I respect that, even if her methods are ... dramatic. Zephyra tilted her head to look at him, her violet eyes soft in the ambient light. And now? What happens when the trials are complete? I don't know, Dex admitted. My mission was supposed to last 3 months. I have responsibilities on Earth. A career. A life. ... A life, she repeated quietly. Do you think ... Could you ever imagine a different life? One that bridged two worlds? Instead of answering with words, Dex cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, pouring all his uncertainty and hope and growing love into the contact. She responded with equal fervor, her body melting against his as if they were two parts of the same whole, finally reunited. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, Zephyra's markings were glowing brighter than he had ever seen them. When Veilthrins experienced deep emotion, she whispered, "Our bodies respond. Make me shine." Dex Morrow. "You make me believe in possibilities I never imagined," he replied, tracing the luminescent patterns on her skin with gentle fingers. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." Together, she agreed, and when she kissed him again, it felt like a promise that could span the stars. 3 months later, the joint expedition had become the most successful interspecies collaboration in galactic history. The mining operations on Kepler 442c were exceeding all projections, while the cultural exchange programs had transformed both human and Veilthrin perspectives on interspecies relations. Dex stood in the observation deck of the research station, watching Earth rise over the horizon of their new shared world. The planet looked different from this distance, more fragile, more precious, but also more connected to the vast network of intelligent life spreading across the galaxy. "The transport from Earth arrived this morning," Zephyra said, joining him at the viewport. Even after months together, her presence still made his heart skip. "Captain Stone is requesting an immediate meeting." Dex nodded, though he didn't take his eyes off Earth. "He's here to take me home." "Are you ready to go?" The question carried layers of meaning they had been dancing around for weeks. Dex's temporary assignment was complete, the peace accord signed, the joint ventures launched. By every measure, his mission was a success. But success in diplomacy meant returning to Earth, to his old life, to a world that suddenly seemed impossibly small and limited. "I don't know," he admitted. "Everything I've ever known is on that planet. My career, my apartment, my life." "But not your heart," Zephyra said softly. Before he could respond, the observation deck's doors hissed open. Captain Stone strode, in his military bearing unchanged despite months of travel. Behind him walked Ambassador Reeves, whose holographic visits had become increasingly tense as the mission progressed. "Morrow," Stone said without preamble, "we need to talk. Privately." Zephyra squeezed Dex's hand once, then withdrew gracefully. "I'll be in the botanical gardens when you're ready." Once they were alone, Stone's diplomatic facade cracked. "What the hell have you been doing up here, son?" The reports were getting. "Joint mining operations, cultural exchange programs, some kind of permanent research station." "Building peace," Dex replied calmly. "Wasn't that the mission?" "The mission was to establish basic diplomatic relations," Reeves interjected. "Not to reorganize human space policy around an alien romance? Is that what you think this is about?" Stone leaned forward. "The Joint Chiefs are concerned about security implications. You've been sharing human technology, allowing alien access to our communication networks, even advocating for Veilthrin observers in human space. In return, we've gained access to technology that will revolutionize our energy production, medical capabilities, and space travel," Dex countered. "Not to mention prevented a war that could have devastated both civilizations." "About that war," Reeves said, his voice skeptical. "Intelligence analysis suggests the Veilthrin military threat was greatly exaggerated." "By the aliens too? To what?" Dex's patience finally cracked. "To find a solution that benefits everyone? To choose cooperation over conflict? If that's manipulation, then I'm proud to be manipulated." Stone studied him for a long moment. "You've changed, Morrow. The man we sent up here would never have spoken to a superior officer like that. The man you sent up here had never seen what was possible when different species worked together instead of competing," Dex replied. He'd never experienced a connection that transcended the boundaries of worlds. "Connection?" Reeves scoffed. "You mean your relationship with the alien princess?" "Dex, you can't seriously be considering—" "I'm considering what's best for humanity's future," Dex interrupted. "And that future isn't isolated on one world, suspicious of every new contact, always preparing for the next conflict. The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. Zafira's voice came over the station's communication system, tense with urgency. All personnel, to emergency stations. We have incoming ship's unidentified configuration, approaching at high speed. Through the viewport, they could see sleek vessels approaching the station, their design unlike anything in human or veil-through space. The ships moved with predatory grace. Weapon systems clearly visible. Mordani raiders, Stone breathed, recognizing the configuration from intelligence briefings. They must have detected the mining operations. The Mordani were supposed to be contained in the outer rim, Reeves said, his face pale. If they're here for the resources, Dex realized. And unlike the Veilthrens, they won't be interested in negotiation. The station shuddered as the first energy blast struck the outer shields. Through the communication system, they could hear Zafira coordinating the defense from the command center. Station defense is at 60%, she reported. Veilthran patrol ships are 12 minutes out. The station won't last 12 minutes. Stone said grimly, "We need to evacuate." "No," Dex said firmly. "We need to fight. But not the way they expect." He was already moving toward the command center with Stone and Reeves hurrying behind him. When they arrived, they found controlled Chaos Veilthran officers coordinating with human technicians. Species barriers forgotten in the face of common threat. "Status report," Dex called out. 6 Mordani raiders, heavily armed, Zafira replied without looking up from her tactical display. "They're targeting the mining platforms first, then the station. Standard pirate tactics." "What about Nexus?" Dex asked. "Is the biomechanical guardian still stationed on the mining platform?" Zafira's eyes widened with understanding. "Yes, but it's been dormant since the platform went online. The Mordani won't expect. Can we establish communication?" "I'll try." Her fingers flew over the alien controls. "Nexus, this is Princess. Zafira, we need your help." The response came immediately, not words, but a harmonic tone that resonated through the station's hull. On the tactical display, they watched as the mining platform's defensive systems came online. But not in any configuration the Mordani would recognize. Instead of conventional weapons, Nexus had transformed the platform itself into a massive communication array. The biomechanical guardian's unique ability to interface with both organic and technological systems turned the entire mining operation into a vast sensory network. "What's it doing?" Stone asked, staring at the display. In confusion, "It's talking to them," Dex realized. "The Mordani use biomechanical interfaces too. Nexus is trying to establish communication." The attacking ships had stopped firing, their formations shifting uncertainly. Then, amazingly, they began to respond to Nexus's signals. "Impossible," Reeves breathed. "You can't negotiate with Mordani raiders." "You can't," Zafira corrected, her voice filled with wonder. "But apparently, Nexus can." Minutes later, the crisis was over. The Mordani fleet had withdrawn, not because they were defeated, but because Nexus had convinced them that cooperation would be more profitable than conflict. The biomechanical guardian had offered them a share in the mining operations in exchange for protection services. "Another solution that benefits everyone," Zephyr said, turning to Dex with a smile that could have powered the station. "Another example of what's possible when different species work together," Dex replied, pulling her into his arms despite the crowded command center. Later, as they stood again in the observation deck watching the stars wheel overhead, Captain Stone approached them with a different expression than before. "The Joint Chiefs have a new assignment for you, Morrow," he said. "If you're interested, sir. Permanent ambassador to the Veilthran Empire, based here with full authority to negotiate on behalf of Earth. The position comes with a significant increase in rank and diplomatic immunity for any personal relationships you might choose to pursue." Dex felt his heart stop. "Sir, are you saying?" "I'm saying that sometimes the universe presents us with opportunities that are too valuable to let slip away," Stone replied. "The question is whether you're ready to take them." Dex looked at Zafira, seeing his own wonder and hope reflected in her violet eyes. "Together?" he asked. "Together," she confirmed. 6 months later, their wedding was broadcast across both human and